actually moves away from having an exceptional tree as a real burden towards having it be a positive thing. Because right now there's this big incentive to actually try and remove it ahead of time because it's all punitive. Whereas in this thing, you don't want to necessarily clear your lot ahead of time because those trees can actually allow you to meet your goals a lot more easily if you retain them. And then lastly, repealing the interim tree regulations. And I think that fundamentally, obviously the purpose of them was to be an interim measure while we assess canopy cover and while we put in place a comprehensive piece of regulations. And I think because the canopy cover is actually is much better shape than we thought it was, and because of this proposal and a desire to move more towards education incentives rather than punitive measures, I think that makes sense. And I will say, a substantial portion of this proposal and the work that we actually did leading up to this was actually looking really intensely at a tree permit requirement that might make those outside of development regulations reasonably workable. So you could essentially kind of like buy your way out of the on-site requirement for about, I guess that'd be like $5,000.
Entirely.
Yeah.
I mean, you would probably.
Of like only when it would, unreasonably burden neighbors in the community kind of thing. It really makes trees a burden rather than a benefit. If you're having to go through a lot of processes, you have to pay money to remove trees. If you have to, if some tree gets so large that it may have to be retained, that really makes them more of a burden. And in the extreme case, especially because we have a lot of conifers here, you can end up with one tree that's right in the middle of your yard that basically blocks off all light, and creates real resentment of those trees. And so I think, that's very problematic because it creates this real disincentive to want to let your trees grow large, and then it burdens those people who actually have trees. The point though is that we're seeing canopy cover increasing, and so we think that through more positive incentive means that create trees more as a benefit than a burden, through more education, more incentives, I think there's actually a good opportunity to kind of meet that canopy cover goal without going that direction too.